Hey, just wanted to say a quick disclaimer. We are not theologians, pastors, religious teachers, or in any way an authority of the Bible. Just average Christians having a great time talking about the Bible with our friends. Potluck was created to encourage food for thought and to help open up a conversation about major and minor topics from the Bible. We strongly encourage all audience members to conduct their own research, as statements presented are largely opinion-based as well as backed. Us here at Potluck wish you a great day, and please, come enjoy the potluck!
Welcome to Potluck, the podcast where we bring our different dishes of conversation and perspective to the table. This podcast focuses on a casual conversation about God through personal stories and experiences. We hope that these conversations help in understanding the Bible, God, and each other. We're glad that you've decided to join our conversation. Okay, so welcome back to the Potluck, the podcast. We're excited to be back. We haven't recorded in a really long time, so there's that. Can't remember the last time we recorded. But so today's question is, what is our favorite snack at the moment? I'll go first. My favorite snack right now is popcorn. I'm actually currently eating it at the moment. The movie theater popcorn specifically, and the Pop Secret movie theater popcorn. It's fire. All right, Kirby, tell us what yours is.
Hey, my name is Kirby. Ciao and bienvenuto. I'm sticking with this. with it.
I forgot you're doing that.
Come on now. My favorite snack right now, it's been my favorite snack for about a year now going on. Vanilla wafers. I'm a fiend for vanilla wafers. If you think it's trash, you can fight me. I'm willing to see you outside.
I'm Darcy, and my favorite snack, I always get stressed when somebody asks me a favorites question because my favorites change all the time. But currently, what I'm eating a lot is veggie straws, but like specifically the zesty ranch flavor. It's really good. And then also, if I get like really bored during the day or really bored of like what I'm doing, like whether I'm doing work or something, and I feel the need to eat something, but I also don't want to be eating all day, then I'll get like chai tea. I don't know if that qualifies as a snack, but I love me some chai.
Hi, my name is Caitlin. My current favorite snack right now is, they're like these chips they're chips, but they're made out of popcorn and they're like in chip shapes. Yeah. It's a problem. I'll sit there and eat an entire bag and not even feel bad about it. Yeah.
Kirby, are you wanting to weigh in on this? You can
Popcorners, yeah, that's what they're called. They're so good.
I knew she didn't know the name, so I was like, I know the name. I know what you're talking about. Goated snack. No arguments.
Delicious. Yeah, okay.
Okay, hey, it's Briley. So I don't know if this is considered like a snack per se, because I don't really snack. Like when I snack, it's more of a food, but like spicy ramen, like instant noodle ramen, but like really, really spicy. Man, with a little bit of cottage cheese or a little bit of sour cream to like just calm the heat a little bit. I don't know. It's just, I've been craving it so much. And Walmart, they've been out of it for like 2 weeks. And it's so sad. And yeah, I don't know if it's a snack, but that's what I snack on. So
I really want to like that, Briley. I really do. And like for the first few bites, I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. But then I realize my whiteness kicks in and I'm just like, no, you are not built for this.
Oh,
You did not go there.
Oh God, you got to be craving spicy ramen.
it's so good though.
It is. It's so good. Hello, I am Daniel. I really like whatever these things are. Hold on, why will not focus? If I put it on my face, maybe it will. Nope. These things are too smart.
You have to put your hand behind it like the YouTubers. No, it's not working.
No, it's literally just because it like blurs everything that is a human face.
Oh.
So hold on. There we go. But these things, hard snaps, like these are like black bean snaps. Like especially this flavor, the freaking mango chili flavor.
I've had that flavor. It's so good.
It's so good. The black pepper ones are also really good. I don't like. They have like a Caesar salad like version and like a zesty ranch, and I don't like any of those. The black pepper and the mango chili one. Oh, it's so good.
My name is Delano, and right now my favorite snacks. I like a nice balance of like savory and sweet things, but at Dollar Tree, there are these like honey, spicy, sweet spicy like cheese puffs. I don't know the name of them, but they're very very good. And a good sweet snack is like a
Right
Swedish
here.
fish. Oh yeah, Danila has them. But yeah, Swedish fish or any cold chocolate.
Vanilla, can we get some ASMR with those cheese doodles?
Darcy, why did you ask, Darcy? Darcy, don't let this happen.
Hey, all we're doing is showing people what they look like, and I'm like, I feel bad for our audio listeners because they're just like, we want to see what's happening. So if you
We don't even
shoot
have
them
any video.
a little
listeners.
bit.
Yeah, here it is. You guys hear this good? Craig, eat it, Chip?
Sure.
I can barely hear anything. Oh. Yup, can't hear a thing.
Oh,
The ears are saved. Except by Delano. Delano ruined it all.
Hey, I'm just giving them the full experience.
No, Delano. No, you made me like have like a visceral reaction to that.
I have a new mic. I'm very excited. Hopefully my sounds better. Okay, so for today's topic, we went through a list of things that we've kind of like accumulated, like ideas that I have on my phone that people just kind of said. And the idea that was on my phone was altar calls, but we've now decided to broaden that idea to just evangelism within the church in general. The old version, like the outdated version, also the super modern annoying versions. So just anything we think about evangelism. Should we start off with altar calls, or should we start off with just our most annoying thing about evangelisms, or how do you guys want to start this?
I almost feel like a topic like this deserves opening remarks from each person.
Yeah.
Testimonials. All right, who wants to start?
Oh boy.
Someone who mentioned that someone needed testimonials, that means she has a testimonial to give right now.
That's true, Darcy.
So I should go? Okay, I'll go. Okay, I guess two things. First one is altar calls. A lot of people, probably most people in this podcast, I'm sure, have had this same experience because 3 of them went to school with me, or 4 of them went to school with me. So they have the pretty much exact same experience as me. But I vividly remember, like, at our high school, when we would have our week of prayer or whatever, and speakers would come and always do altar calls. Like, are you even an official preacher if you don't do an altar call at a week of prayer? And I just remember this one speaker in particular that just dragged it out the longest I'd ever seen. Like, I was sitting there, he begins his altar call and it's like, okay, I mean, people can go up. This is good for people who feel convicted in this moment. Like, they want to go up and have him pray over them or maybe get baptized or whatever. And then 5 minutes in, it's like, okay, this is a little uncomfortable, but I guess we're kind of wrapping it up now. 10 minutes in, I'm like starting to question my faith. 20 minutes in, I'm like majorly guilt tripped, like seconds away from getting up. And I honestly, I was sitting down as a form of protest at that point, because like so many people had gotten up already, probably because of the same like guilt tripped feelings. And I just hate the whole idea of like altar calls turning into guilt trip sessions, because I think there's a place for them, but I just hate it whenever they get dragged out. So that's the first thought I have on this whole thing. And then the second thought, I went on a mission trip to Dominican Republic, and we were supposed to go there and preach, and all of the sermons were like pre-prepared for us and everything.
I also went on that mission trip.
Oh, okay. So I'll be really quick. So basically it was an evangelistic like series of sermons, and I didn't totally like, I don't know, I felt weird about what I was preaching. Maybe I should let Danila take it from here.
No, you're good. I wasn't even going to talk about that.
Okay, cool. I like, I don't know. It was partially because I was not like super connected to the sermons, because again, they were pre-prepared for me. I could look over them and kind of put them in my own words. But it was topics that were given, and they had all the slides like already prepared and everything. And I just felt weird about it. I feel weird about like this whole package that we as Adventists like present to people in our evangelistic meetings, where it's like just this system of like steps, and it kind of involves like some low-key fear tactics. Not that we're saying like you're going to burn in hell forever, but we do kind of bring that up a lot and bring up a lot of scary things. And I don't know, I just feel like evangelism, there's a lot of ways it could be improved, to really connect with people on a personal level, instead of trying to draft people into our church and trying to get the numbers. There's a lot of things that just don't sit well with me, so maybe we'll like hash them all out in this conversation. So I'll stop talking for now.
The way you worded that was really good, by the way.
Thank you.
No one else is gonna say anything. I might as well right in there. So briefly talked about prior to the podcast, I told everyone how I was helping a part of a week of prayer-esque revival situation at a church in South Florida. A couple of us went down to sing. I wouldn't say it's a mission trip, but kind of ish. But we would sing every night up until like Thursday, and then we went again Friday, Saturday, and we started Saturday. So it was a full week. And issues with the way the pastor was speaking. Some people didn't like everything, but every night, religiously, in a religion, he would try to do an altar call. And try to do an altar call for like, hey, call for baptism at the end of the week, and this, that, and the third. So do you want to get closer? And one day, one night, one of my friends, we realized it was a mixture of, come up for like, there was like a men's day. So men would come up and men would get a pep talk about how to be men in the church and, treat women correctly. So then we can make strong families, especially the Black community specifically. It's the idea of being a strong man and making sure you don't like screw up and lead women astray was the idea. But there was one night where it was just kind of like, stand and come to the front if you just want to be better. Not a baptism type of altar call, but like if you want to be like a better in Christ and everything. And every night is always there's a pre-walk, and then there's then the people who want to get baptized and come in front. But he flipped it on everyone, and the pre-walk was the baptism walk. So like 20 people got up and walked up, assuming it was just let me get closer, pray on me, and then we can head out. But it was like, and you guys are all here because you want to get baptized. And then my friend turns around, who's in the group of people, and looks at me. He's like, "This is not what I came here for."
How you gonna trick people up?
This man said, "Hey, I know we had this regular thing, but let me flip it on you, and now I'm getting baptized." Hey, yo.
Now you're getting baptized.
Yo. And then eventually a lady who wasn't even like, because the pastor, he was a speaker who came from somewhere else. This lady kind of was like egging him on the whole week, like was doing ad libs. So she came to all of us who were singing, and for people who didn't walk up to get baptized, she was like, it'd be such a shame if you came here this week, sang with us, and did all this stuff for us, and you missed on your blessing. So think about it. Think about getting baptized. And it was just like, hey man, this is not the way to do anything. Right. I'll say 2 of us got baptized in the week, but again, they had conversations with another pastor, which got them to the point, but that was not it. That was not it at all.
Yeah, I feel like certain pastors can really beat a dead horse when it comes to altar calls, going for like 5 and 10 minutes, and it's just like keep going and going. And it's like, okay, nobody's gotten up in the last 3 minutes. Perhaps it's time to go. Like it's bleeding into lunchtime, and I'm sure somebody out there could need these moments, right? I don't want to knock the fact that it could be useful to somebody, but if nobody's gotten up in 3 minutes.
Okay, Delano, you're getting ahead of us. We're not diving into it yet. What is your personal experience with evangelism in the church?
It's just really awkward, sitting in the crowd for like 10 minutes and nobody getting up. Yeah, I just think it's awkward.
Yeah. So I guess I can go. Basically, like, what is evangelism, right? It's just a fancy word of saying marketing for Jesus, right? And I feel like marketing for Jesus is really bad. Even that concept of doing that is kind of a hard thing for me to like fully grasp. Like, I know that we need to like tell people about God, and obviously I think that I think most evangelism that I've been a part of that's outside of the country, it's like fit for that country and it does well. Like what Darcy was saying with the Dominican trip, like, yeah, like they're doing altar calls, but the thing is, I feel like those sermons were formulated for those group of people. And I feel like for those group of people, it did well. But I think that our church is really good at marketing to people who are not in America. Once people in America, they try to do the same tactics that they do in other countries, and it does not work. Like you can not do an altar call for like 10 minutes at a regular old church. Like it's just not going to happen. Like I think what Darcy was saying, it has to be like personal. Just because pretty much everyone in America has heard about God. Everyone's pretty much heard about some sort of like God experience they've had. Like literally on our money, it says in God we trust. Like it's a very religious country in like the Christianity form. And I feel like there's a lot of negative connotations with Christian churches due to our politics and things. So I just feel that in America, it needs to go in another direction. And I feel like with the outdated like pamphlets that gets handed out,
Just take a walk along the Greenway at Southern Adventist University.
Literally.
Every bench with a pamphlet.
Literally, the health messages of like I feel like the health message is probably the best one that we have. Because it's like everyone wants to be healthy, vegans a big kick right now. It's like, ooh, they're vegetarian, like that's so cute, like what's up with that? But most of them are just extremely cheesy, extremely bad. I remember when Caitlin and I were putting together like our Instagram, we're like, for our church, we're like, we cannot have like the posters on our like feed, but then we ended up doing that anyway because it's like, what else are you supposed to do? We need to get taught like how to market in America. Like there's no way to like even marketing Jesus. Yeah, so that's my marketing Jesus is bad, terrible experiences. I think my worst experience was like specifically like we went to this place and they're tithing for like evangelism, so it wasn't exactly the evangelism itself, but it was like they were doing like this like auction thing. So the guy was like, I'm gonna put $5 into this tithe bucket for evangelism. Who wants to beat this $5?
Uh-oh.
Like no more $1 or anything. Here's 5. And then the next one was like, you know what? I have this $10. Who wants to beat this? And like the deacons were like going into the crowd, grabbing $10, and he upped it up to like 50 eventually. And like, did they plan for someone to have a $50 bill on them? Because no one has a $50 bill on them. So I don't know how they had to happen. But I think that's my worst experience. Or not my worst experience, but that is an experience. Anyway, that's it for me.
I've only had bad evangelical experiences. I don't think I've ever like actually sat through like or like been a part of an evangelical that word that long word that is just marketing for Jesus that has actually been effective and or good. Worst one, and I'm calling out a specific person on this one that none of you guys know if ever the slightest chance they ever see this. I want them
Censor
to
it.
know how bad. Yeah, I want them to know how bad of a thought that this was, that it actually stuck with me for so long. It was the culmination of Jesus in pop culture. And this was when Stranger Things was going around as being a super popular thing. And this person said to me with a straight face, it's like, these kids are caring too much about these Stranger Things. What about Stranger Things in Christ? I wanted to throw a chair at myself, people around me. Like, this person said it was so and I listen, I love this person, but that very moment, I wanted to exclude my existence from my own life. I can't do this. The cringe is too much. And that, to be honest, that's like most, if not all of them that I've experienced. Like I especially hate the pop culture culmination. But I think the hardest part, especially in America, is the secular marketing tactics used into. But we'll get into that more. But yeah, it's just I don't think I've seen any good evangelical marketing for I don't think I've ever seen it. Like, I guess in other countries it works. I've seen that, and like especially on like the mission trips and stuff. But even then, I would argue those aren't really effective. And I think altar calls specifically, like, this is gonna sound bad to me as a person, but I kind of hope that nobody shows up at altar calls when a pastor does it. I sit there and kind of hope that no one does, like, goes up. There are moments where like I have been asked by like elders and deacons, like, Daniel, go up. No one's going up. And I'm like, no.
Wait,
no. I want them to sit there and think about what they're doing. So nah. I hate altar calls in general. I'm not for it. I kind of hope no one shows up to them. I'm spiteful. I'm sorry.
Hot take. I'm not trying to do Stranger Things for God, Daniel.
I hate you so much, Toledo.
Wait, Danilo. Danilo, what was that one page you showed us where the guy was like taking pop culture references and trying to do it on like at a sermon, or he like really corny lines and would always try to.
The one who's like mimicking the youth pastor.
Oh, I love
not the black guy. There was one where like it was like a genuine like awkward like Christian things or something. You like it was like in a feed you would show in the group chat.
Oh,
it was
the
a white guy.
sermons.
Yes.
Like, there's so many, but I know what you're talking about. The song. It was the song by what's the Fifth Harmony work
You're gonna go to work?
You're gonna work. And he was like, what about like working for Christ? I'm like, wait, what? Like, you have no idea what this song's about, dude.
Yeah. That's a crime. That should be a sin, guys.
Yeah. Honestly, it probably
Allowed
is
to be
in some
When,
way.
when people say using God's name in vain, I'm just gonna talk about that specifically.
Literally. Oh my gosh. Honestly, we could talk forever just about like marketing with songs and like how they use pop
Oh, boy.
culture songs and mix it in to like.
This is the worst. The worst.
Honestly, I found out this week, I don't know if I'll keep this in, but I found out this week that Happy and You Know It, Clap Your Hands is not a Christian song.
What's
It was a
this?
Christian song?
Yeah,
I
what?
thought it was a Barney thing at
Oh, I
first.
only know it as a Christian song.
I
Like,
only
if
knew
you're
it as
happy and you know
Barney.
it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. From the Father up above is looking down.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you never knew how. No,
I
okay,
didn't
so
know there was
if
another
you're happy and
way.
you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.
If you're happy and you know it, then your face is really show it. If you're
Really
happy
show
and
it.
you
If you're happy
clap
and
your
you know
hands.
it, clap your
Yeah.
hands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Interesting.
how it's.
I've
that's
never
how it is.
heard the other way before.
Yeah.
I've only heard it.
Never heard it the other way before. That's
Wow.
interesting.
Danila's a real Christian. We're all fakes.
No, like I literally
He's
was told
deliberate.
like I was told like I'm nannying right now, so I was told from like one of the moms that like they really like the song, but I'm like, but we don't talk about God with these kids, so how are they gonna sing this song? And I looked it up and I listened to it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this isn't a Christian song. I was like, this is crazy.
Oh.
Dang.
So that was my personal experience this week. Any other evangelism horror stories?
Mine's not really a horror story, but one time this guy was just going really long and I went up there because I felt bad for him. And afterward, I think Christy was like, oh, congrats on getting baptized. And I was like, I'm not getting baptized.
Dang, that's tough.
That's a compassionate person right there, Caitlin. You don't change. Don't change, Caitlin. Don't change.
Make them suffer, Caitlin. Don't show up. Don't do it. Let them know their mistakes.
Literally, the devil and the angel on the shoulder is each of you right now.
I'll take it. I'll take the heat. I want them to know their mistakes.
Hey man, Dad, you want to go somewhere real warm, man, like Miami, Florida.
I guess I could go. I mean, I kind of agree with what everyone's saying. I've always felt like guilted into going up for altar calls. I've never really, like, there's been very few times that I actually feel connected to what like the speaker was saying and actually felt like I was going up for like personal reasons instead of feeling guilted into doing it. So I don't really think that they're that necessary. Like, I think sometimes they're good. I think people just need to like learn when to, I don't know, read the room. Like, I think in certain cases it's helpful, but like during evangelical meeting.
Girl, join the club. I don't know why we're having such a
Evangelical.
hard time with this word, but it's hard.
It is.
Man,
for,
y'all
like, no
learn
reason.
English first and only your whole life. Y'all can't say evangelical.
Yeah,
Literally,
evangelical.
growing up
That's it.
Seventh-day Adventist, like that's the first word we learned.
I know, we're
Evangelical.
like evangelical. Okay.
I think for
Evangelical
me,
means-
it's like I can't decide if I want to say evangelistic or evangelical, and so I just can't like say
yeah,
it.
I feel
yeah.
that.
But what was I saying? But anyways, those meetings, I don't think that every single night needs an altar call, but I can see why they would think it is, because we're like, oh, what if one person comes this night and this is the night they should get saved, like quote unquote get saved, but they won't come the rest of the night. So we want to get them like in the system as quick as possible. But I don't necessarily agree with that. Like, I think God will work on them and work on the relationship. If they're going to come to Christ, they're going to come to Christ. It's not going to be like a one night like saved kind of thing, you know. And I feel like a lot of evangelical meetings and altar calls put a lot of pressure on people to make what feels like life decisions very quickly. So I've never really enjoyed altar calls. I mean, that's kind of what we're all saying. So yeah.
Oh wait, do you guys remember? Like, also, you just made me think of something. just like like evangelism meetings in the US are just some random guy who's just touring around the US that has some sort of idea about something. So they'll be like, oh, Harry Potter is bad. Let me do a tour around the US talking about it. And so he just pops up at your church and they're just like, well, I guess this guy wants to talk about something, but they don't really always screen what he's going to talk about. And then he talks about a week about how all the children are corrupted by television today. And like
Danila, you just described the scenario and how my entire church fell for the early 2000s YouTube meme of playing things backwards.
Oh
My
no.
entire church fell for that. So much so that they believed that Pokemon and the theme song, and if you rewind it backwards, it was worshiping the devil. And they had to send a pastor to like me and a bunch of other kids to try to explain to us that Pokemon is demons. I will never forget that. That was wild, but like my entire church fell for that because one dude, this one guy, was touring around the United States going like, kids and TV shows are evil. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Digimon, all these things are evil. Anime is evil. Video games are evil. And I was like,
I can only add on that it was never good, and when people keep trying to do it, it stays bad. But also, Daniel,
wait,
because
anime?
of us being the whole this is why everything is wrong in the world and all the media is corrupting. Like, I'll add on that people here know I'm a fiend for reality TV. And literally, the pastor of the church that we sang at said, you know what? He said, like, we sang so well and he loved it so much. And like, I love the guy. He was such a cool dude. But he was like, there's so many wrong things in the world. Why don't we try to influence the world? Why don't they have I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name of the organization that I sing with because I don't know how much of me is gonna be exposed about other groups. But it's like, we should make please exert the word Potluck out of this reality show. Why don't we make a reality show of you guys? And I'm literally sitting here like, there's no way he said that out loud. There's no way that was a sentence that he thought was okay.
It was.
I mean, honestly, that kind of sounds fire.
That doesn't sound too bad to me.
Yeah, when we
Yeah,
start
but they
filming.
don't know what we're really like. So realistically, it's not the godly reality show that they want. It's imagine how much.
Hold on. I need to hear Darcy and Danila's reasoning for this.
Because I feel like for the exact opposite reason, the reason why I think it would be cool, because the exact opposite reason probably why this pastor is to show that people are not just like good Christian children just sitting down reading their Bibles all day long. Like,
there's humans.
Like like we're humans, we have interests like outside of the Bible and stuff. So I think it'd be cool to like, especially during their tour, them going around singing, to like just show the behind the scenes of them just listening to like Encanto and just chilling.
Oh, okay. If it's like a behind the scenes thing, I'm thinking like you're trying to set up like a reality show. Like not
like a dating reality show.
Yeah, like get a bunch of Christians to live in a single dorm together.
Oh goodness.
No.
Daniel, wait. Best part, are you the one? Catholics.
Wait, why Catholics?
Because you know it always gonna be fun if it's the Catholics.
Oh my god. Okay, so now getting into like actual thoughts and opinions. So I guess we'll start with altar calls because that's what most people are talking about, like mainly. So like I'll just like do like a little promo for altar. I feel like they can work under the right conditions. I know many people who have gotten baptized for their whole life due to an altar call. Like, altar calls are not all that bad, especially I feel like for mission trips and stuff like that. For specifically outreach like moments, altar calls can be good. But now let's talk about how bad they are.
I'm glad you have that opinion.
I think they have their moments where they can be good. I personally feel like Dominican Republic, perfect place for an altar call. But like we were talking about earlier, the random guy touring, talking about whatever he feels is pressed upon his heart, he should not be doing an altar call.
Nope.
Get video in your basement instead. You don't need to do it.
Yeah.
Record a YouTube video. Do whatever. Just don't do that.
Some churches do an altar call every single week.
What?
Like at their church. Wait, should we explain what an altar call is? I just realized that.
Yeah,
That's
perhaps.
a good idea.
Does someone want to explain that, or do you want me to?
I can do it.
Okay, go for it.
I got you, Janila. So basically, an altar call is generally at the end of like a sermon or something, and the pastor extends an opportunity to the audience to come up front. So that's pretty much what it is. And like when they come up front, either the pastor will like pray for them, or they come up front because they're interested in getting baptized, or they come up front because like any number of reasons that the pastor gives. But essentially it's coming up front because you feel convicted by what the pastor just preached about.
Yeah. A call to the altar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes
Yeah.
altar calls are just standing up, like where you're at, but most of the time it's like walking down and there's like music playing, like a piano player or guitar, and it's like
Some Hillsong comes on.
yeah, it's like and then like the music's playing behind the pastor being like, do you feel convicted today? Does God feel like, do you feel like God is telling you on your heart, today is the day that you come
The
the
altar. This is not music.
Yeah.
The
And today is the day that you
Father's
need to come
arms
to him.
open wide.
Some days we just feel like
Was born with
we feel like we don't know what we should do. But today's your day that you need to come to Christ and come to the altar. This Saturday we're holding baptisms at blah 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 blah. From 9 to 5. I want to see you guys there. Just come down. Also, check out my music on Spotify.
Can we applaud the band? What a great band this week,
Yeah,
guys.
what a
Oh,
great
wow.
band.
Such great.
We literally had a pastor say that, like he was giving a shout out for his rap music while doing
Oh
a
my
call
gosh.
at the same time.
I remember
Is that
that
an FLA?
the elbow guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, no. In his defense, we did bully him. Let's not get that.
He deserves.
Why is that
to be
defense?
bullied.
He deserved it, bro.
It was bad. It was bad. But anyway, so that's what an altar call is. Yeah.
I wonder where the
where
name.
we're just,
Sorry.
Kaylin, go. Kaylin, go.
It's just I was just gonna say I wonder where the name altar call came from. Like when did they start using it?
Probably the Catholics. I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
Wait, so we're just talking about other like things that are wrong with altar calls as a whole, right?
Yeah.
So like I think my perspective personally is like what I told you earlier, tricking someone into an altar call. When you think it wasn't an altar call, you thought it was, hey, I'm just gonna pray over everyone so we can have a blessing. Let's all come to the front in a way of camaraderie. But if you don't know any better, you didn't know this was actually a baptism. Because not all altar calls are baptism. Let's also point that out. So it's like just a way of being able to signify you wanting to grow your relationship. It being any way of getting more Bible study, this and the third. And it's like, I just feel like sometimes like, hey, let's read the room, right? Like, let's actually read the room. Instead of just like, oh, I'm here to get a number today. Because let's be realistic. A lot of times it's like I'm trying to get my stats up. Like imagine I did a whole week, I ain't got one baptism. Now I look terrible on the stat sheet.
Can we talk about that? The numbers thing? Because I get the fact that like we've made the church into kind of a business now because we have to exist somehow in the world as like an entity, like a structure, because that's how the world works. And so now it's like it's a church, but there's also business terms that have come to apply to the church. And when you want to see how well a church is doing or how well a pastor is doing, then I guess they started using numbers of like baptisms or like new members and stuff. So like I get that side of it, but it also still just doesn't sit well with me that like we're focusing so much on how many baptisms we get. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Because like obviously it's good to get more baptisms. Like it's really good. And like there's probably a good thing about counting the baptisms, but I think there's also a dangerous side where certain pastors will get so focused on counting the baptisms and on the numbers, and it just feels weird to me. And then obviously like the baptism means nothing truly if you're like if you don't care about like the person's journey after that. I don't know. What do you guys think about the whole numbers thing?
I definitely agree. That's something that's really bothered me over the years, is because
Ooh,
that
sorry.
will.
Riley, you want to start over?
The podcast,
Yeah.
really?
No, we'll keep it in. We'll keep it in.
We'll keep that in. His mic, and he said, "I'm gonna go all in on this bird, man. That's gonna go crazy."
Oh my
gosh.
We can stop. Okay.
I will fight you. I will actually fight you.
Okay, Riley.
So this is something that's like actually always bothered me, the numbers thing, because I feel like it will end up driving people away from the church more than it will bring people towards, and not even towards the church, towards God, you know? Because like it's not about the church. It's like, I mean, we are the people are the church, and it becomes a sort of business where like we're just trying to get the numbers up, and it really becomes nothing about the people, like you were saying. And I feel like that ultimately just really destroys a lot of people's relationships with Jesus and with God, and that also destroys like interpersonal relationships within the church, because once they've got you, they don't care anymore. They're like, well, we've got the number written down, and even if you're not an active member, you're still on the list, so it literally doesn't matter. And that's something that's always really I've just tripped up on. Kirby.
I wanted to add on because like I felt that's why I shook very aggressively. I apologize for cutting you off. Basically I was like talking to someone, and they even said like their whole like job trajectory is kind of wanting to be there for the people who eventually like, you know, they got baptized, they're in the church, but like you said, you get baptized, you were just a number to begin with. You just a number on the stat sheet. So once I baptize you, I'm out. That's crazy. It's over. But like there's no one to support those like new members or the people who get baptized and be like, hey, let me stick with you and like show the support that I'm still here, or like that I see you post baptism, right? So it's like, for example, like when I heard that, I was like, that's really cool. There's like someone actually actively wanting to be there for people who get baptized, because at the end of the day, think about when you got baptized, how many people cared or cared to like check up on you after you got baptized. We're just seeing like, hey, it's the devil testing you now that you got baptized, because that's usually how it is. The devil's supposed to come and attack you after you get baptized. We ain't really see how people checking up on people at all. You just let it run.
So
sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna add in like the fact that like I know too many people who later on got baptized again because they felt like the first time they got baptized was just completely like just peer pressure, altar called nonsense. Like they were forced to by their family, whatever it be. And I'm just like, that's gotta be so sad to have that realization. I'm happy for them that they got baptized again in their own terms and in their own walk, like spiritual walk with like God. But like the fact that that was something that was stopping them from getting the second baptism in the first place, they're like, I don't want to get baptized again because I don't feel like the first time I did it was enough, and I still don't think I've measured up to that point that like I feel like it's enough. And I was like dang, like how can you go through your entire spiritual walk with, like, especially if you get baptized at a young age because of an altar call, whatever it is, you're sitting there the entire like, dang, I'm lying to everybody. Like I'm telling people I'm baptized, but I don't feel like I was baptized. So that's got to cause some problems. That like even beyond the whole like even after the baptism, whatever it is, like that's got to cause problems with your spiritual life, whether you like it or not, because that's going to be sitting there like in your head thinking like I'm lying to everybody. I'm lying to God. Like they're probably thinking in their head. Like I know somebody who had that thought, and it was a lot of just like, oh, like I don't feel like I deserve to be baptized again because like I lied the first time, and I'm like that's so sad. That's terribly sad. So like I can imagine that that's not like just a unique case basis. I mean, yeah, sure, I know a lot of people who have it, but there's probably a lot more people who have that same experience. And when that came to my attention, I was like, that is the saddest thing. Please get baptized when you think you're ready. Like when you want to, not just because some dude wanted to make things awkward for 10 minutes and guilt trip you into it. We'll probably delve more into the section about it, but like the whole spiritual high of altar calls and stuff like that, kind of want to call that out because that itself, I don't think I've ever been more irritated in my entire life in for moments like that should not exist.
Okay. So Daniel just touched on two really big things. One is rebaptisms, and the other one is spiritual highs. With the rebaptisms thing, like that is so huge because so like you said, so many people feel like they need to get rebaptized. I know people that would go to camp and they get a spiritual high every single time they go, and they get rebaptized like 7 times. Like what the heck? Like how many times do you need to be saved? Like he saved you the first time. He saved you
all the time, Danila. I need to be saved every time. All right, hey.
And you were saved without being baptized.
Yeah, you were saved.
By the way,
that's the main.
It's just a public declaration of your salvation. So, okay, scooting back a little bit, I looked up what Caitlin was talking about. Did you look it up too? About like you did? Oh, do you want to say it? Go for it.
It says that it was the website that I got on said that it was a mid 20th century thing.
Oh, right, the Gospel Coalition.
Yeah,
same. That's the one I was looking at. Cool.
It says that it was by the mid 20th century, altar calls had become a staple of evangelical and Baptist life in America, especially in the South.
God dang the South.
It says that not as many, a lot of churches have stopped doing it because there's not a strong biblical basis to it, and it was originally part of new measures that were introduced by Charles Finney in the later stages of the Second Great Awakening.
Yeah, so it was like a book that he wrote.
Okay.
And like so it was like 1840 something, and like they had this whole technique called like anxious bench. Like they were the whole tactic behind altar calls was to make people anxious in their seats.
Oh my goodness.
To feel like they needed to get up, which is so crazy.
Wait, Dadila, are you saying the tactics of an altar call is just gaslighting?
Oh my gosh.
Oh no.
It goes full circle.
Oh no.
Oh no.
I don't leave it to the Christians to gaslight everyone better than themselves.
Oh man, I came so far on this journey, man, and now
it goes full circle, bro.
Dang, that is tough. So,
Where to go?
I mean, like, how do you guys feel about the whole like spiritual high aspect of sermons and like types of worship? Because I've heard many arguments on like the whole thing, because I mean, you guys know me, I'm like not very much of like a very communal type like spiritual person. I'm a very like like individualistic like person spiritually. So like the whole like aspect of going to a sermon, getting that spiritual high, do you think it's like important? Do you think that we can do without it? Or like, do you think it's necessary? Do you think it's not? What are y'all's opinions about it?
I think it's important.
I think it's. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, there's like a social aspect that's still needed, and that you get through going to these sermons. I mean, you don't want to wrap yourself up in an echo chamber, and stop getting new thoughts and new perspectives. But you gotta find a balance, you know.
I think I think they're good. It's like it's it's a good time. People like feeling very close to God. Um like God gave us feelings for a reason, But I also think we should be very careful about them because I think they can be abused by like worship leaders and pastors and stuff. I don't know how we go about this, but somehow make like people realize, especially kids growing up in like the Adventist system or just Christian systems in general, like make them realize that their relationship with God is not tied to how they're feeling in the moment. I definitely like went years and years just one spiritual high to another, feeling like I was just going in cycles with my relationship with God, like wondering why I couldn't always feel that close to him. And then I realized there was a thing called spiritual highs. I don't know, we need to teach people about those for sure, at the very least.
Yeah, I think growing up, like especially because I'm like fourth or fifth generation Adventist, so like I've been around a lot of Adventist events, a lot of Adventist things, and spiritual highs are definitely a thing, especially in like I feel like smaller churches use them more strategically to like maintain like numbers and maintain like status quo. And I remember like just growing up and like trying to figure out how like my relationship with God looked and how that would play out in my life. And like I mean I would go to summer camp in like early high school, and I felt like my first time at summer camp, it was just like this huge spiritual high. I was super connected with all the people I met. Yeah, just a really big spiritual high. And then after that, like it was just like kind of flat. Like there's no spiritual high after that. So I thought that all the connection I felt at summer camp, it was a Christian an Adventist summer camp, all that connection I felt with God, the community I felt that there, it wasn't around me. And so that I feel like there was a disconnect between me and God, and it felt like something I had done and not necessarily, I didn't see it as environmental based, not personal based. And I think that can be tricky for, especially for young people.
That's a good point.
I would say that as people, we are social creatures, even though I would love to deny that constantly. But the idea of like having a church and having things like that is good to have like people to quote unquote recharge your batteries. Because if you're like on your own, you would love someone else to like come to you and help like encourage you to keep going at it if you're trying to fight for this relationship with God. And I remember I was even talking with my parents back in the day. I said back in the day, it was like a couple months ago. And we were talking about the idea of like in other like communities, right? If you're like not in a church or not doing anything, some people are fighting just to have a community to go to, right? Like in my instance, I'm trying to move out to a whole other state where I know maybe 5 people max, like actually have a relationship with maybe 5 people. And even then, honestly, it could just be 3 because one is my cousin and other people are people that I loosely worked with, right? But the idea is imagine you go somewhere completely brand new, got nothing, got no people, got no other, unless like, again, we're in the modern age where you can just go on the internet. But like, realistically, how much does like an online relationship with people last outside of, oh, I check in, I say hi, I say hello, we play games together. But like, if you want someone to like talk with like together in a space. Like I know for a fact, I personally gain nothing from like phone calls with and just doing like just random messages than compared to when we're all hanging out in a group together, having a fun time and we're actually being able to like bounce off each other emotionally and all that stuff. So I think the idea of like even having those social like areas and churches and things like that are beneficial, especially to help grow your own community and have like a place to go to. Like, it's like the idea of like the original safe space in a sense, because everyone needs their safe space. Essentially, that church can be your safe space to be able to think about your own walk with God, talk to other people about grinding and like being able to go up in your faith, things like that. So I think there's a necessary need for it, but also it could be used very poorly because like everything else, we are people. We are inherently sinful, and we somehow ruin every good thing we get.
Yeah. I think the correct word for it is like a revival. Like I don't really want to call it like a spiritual high, because some people can get a spiritual high for it, but some people just need a revival. Like people who haven't like been in a relationship with God, or God, like we can't see him, he's not tangible. So it's sometimes it's hard for us to fully like connect with someone that we can't see or touch. And so I think that's why even altar calls are used. So it's kind of like a way that people can kind of be like the voice in your head, like the Holy Spirit or something. So to like kind of like helping you, talking to you. For the people who like it does really well for them and it has like had some sort of beneficial experience, I feel like that is the experience it is for them. Just them sitting in the seat, focusing on God. It's kind of like group prayers. Like you're not exactly praying to God yourself, but like it just helps you just zone in on the moment and on the words, and just like if also just having that physical as like moment of like I'm declaring God right now can be very powerful for someone. And so like when that altar call is happening and they're in their heart and they're in their seat wrestling with God, like whether or not what they should do or not, having that moment of deciding like I need to stand up right now, I need to go, can be very powerful. I for me, I've had moments where like the pastor's like stand up if you like, not like walk down, but like stand up if you've been struggling with this or this and this and this, and like we'll pray. And like some people see that as like outing someone else's like struggles, but for me, I have found it beneficial in the fact of like owning up what I've been struggling with and not just like keeping it a secret, I guess. So it's been beneficial for me. I do want to go back a little bit to, I think something that Briley mentioned a little bit back of just pastors just wanting the numbers and not like the connection. I feel like our church has tried to make a turning point of trying to make sure that we keep people in the church, like helping people who aren't in the church. Like I've heard that being talked about in sermons a lot recently. And also just like in our church, you have to have some sort of baptismal class before you get baptized. Like, but the problem is how they trick people with that. Because that baptismal class, like how individual churches will trick people with that, because they'll say, oh, that evangelistic meeting for that week was your evangelistic class and you're ready. So like, if you went to the evangelistic meeting like all week, basically, like you can get baptized. Or for our school, like for our elementary school that me and Daniel went to in Kirby, like what we basically did, they had a pastor come in and teach us like as a group setting, like we had us mark our Bibles, teach us like what we need to know in order to be baptized. And then we got a certificate at the end, like basically saying that we finished our baptismal classes. And it was something that you got to sign up for. It wasn't like a forced thing. So if you wanted to do baptismal classes, but it was like 4th grade. So like, I don't know what that would mean. And I know OJA had it too, because I also signed up for those classes, or my mom signed me up for the classes, but thankfully I wanted to do them. But I can't imagine how many parents are like getting that in their announcement mail, and they're like, oh, baptismal classes, you're ready for this, right? Okay, you're gonna go during lunch and not be able to do recess and do this instead. And so like once you finish that, then it's like, oh, you can go ahead and get baptized, you're ready. So I feel like although our church is trying to like prevent people from getting baptized without knowing what they're getting into, I feel like individual people in churches, in schools, have a problem with kind of going around that.
I was gonna say something. I just was waiting if anyone was gonna talk. But I know for my parents growing up, the idea was that like I wasn't allowed to get baptized until I was at a certain age, because my mom was raised Catholic, my dad was raised Baptist, and at least in the Catholic church, it was like, oh, you're born, you're baptized. That's how it works. Like that's why there's baby dedications instead of baby baptisms. But like my parents are definitely the idea of like you need to know what you're doing before you get into it. But then somehow everything flipped when I turned like 18, and now I'm kind of in the boat where for most people are like, well, imagine you have to get rebaptized. I know for a fact I'm probably gonna have to get rebaptized because I ended up only getting baptized just to go allowed to go on a trip. So I'm guilty, but I own up to it.
I mean, like, listen, dude, that's your spiritual walk, man. No one should be able to shame you for whatever decision you end up deciding to do. Like, I was baptized at 9, because I like at that time, and like it was like Pastor Diane's like thing. Yeah, that was baptized through that, and I was sitting there going like, I'm 9 years old. I want to be baptized before I'm 10. I was like, that was like the main driving force of me getting baptized. I'm like, I'm turning those double digits, bro. I gotta do it. I gotta make this commitment. Like I'm like looking back at it, I was like a 30-year-old man trying to decide if he's gonna go to a different career. I was just going like, it's now or never, baby. I have to go now. So like, and I like my mindset was like more or less like pure in that case, where I was just like, I need to make this commitment now. I gotta do all the things that I gotta do to get baptized now. So like I went to like Pastor Diane's like classes and stuff, and like I also like went around like Forest City, when the church I was at, and like did the baptismal classes there, and I was just like, yeah, I'm ready to make this commitment. And then after I did it, I was like, nothing changed. I was like being told like, Daniel, you're gonna feel this like amazing spiritual power come through you, and I'm like, yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm going like, your entire life is gonna be changed, and I'm like, yeah. I'm like pumped up 9-year-old going like, my life's gonna be changed.
That's an important thing too.
There's like, here's your plaque, and I'm like,
Not the flag.
I was
Oh,
like,
no.
I still have that plaque, by the way. Like I was like, I got my plaque. They took me, like my parents took a picture of me, and they were just like, all right, time to go home. And I'm like, we don't even get potluck.
We don't even get potluck.
Like I was just sitting there like, I got debated.
Yeah. Like me and Daniel were baptized by the same person, same thing. But for me, I wanted to get baptized very young, and my family was very against it. Same situation with Kirby, like coming from like Catholic-ish backgrounds, like very big on like not baptizing us unless we're 100% ready. But I felt very ready, and I was just like, I need to get baptized. Like I did baptismal classes at OJ, like, and I left OJ when I was in 2nd grade. So I was doing them really early. Like everyone else in the class was like in 7th or 8th grade. And I was like, hey, I'm in 2nd grade and I'm ready to learn about Jesus. Like, and then they did it again at Fleece. And I knew there was a bunch of people there who didn't want to be in the class. And that's why I mentioned that there was a bunch of people, their parents who signed them up for it. And they're like, oh, I guess you're ready to be baptized. You finished the class. And then I had to do some with like my pastor at my church and stuff like that. So they were really like kind of urging me not to. I know Pastor Diane was like, are you sure? Like, please don't do this unless you're absolutely possible. I never had anyone tell me that you would get some sort of spiritual, like what you're saying, like boost.
I didn't get that from Pastor Diane. I got that was from like members of like the Forest City Church that were just like,
okay,
because like they made this, because I'm like, my parents were like kind of popular in the church, and they're just like, Daniel and Anais' child is going to get baptized. We need to go watch it. We need to go to Forest City and try it. And I was like, wow. Oh my God. But everyone's just going like, Daniel, you're gonna be feeling this fantastic power of Christ. You're gonna be feeling this spiritual. I was like, I'm ready. I can't wait to feel this. And it happened. I was like, that was it. Yeah. What the heck, guys?
That must have been such a bummer. I literally was warned again. I was warned the exact opposite. Like, there isn't gonna be some magical like thing that will make you feel better. Like, you have to know that, like, don't just do this for the wrong reasons. Like, that's the thing that I was told. So like, I feel very like, even to like this day, like I don't feel like I need another baptism, even though I was born like baptized at a very young age. But I feel like most people who are baptized around my age, like, are like, yeah, I'm gonna need to do this again because the first time wasn't right. But honestly, the first time I heard about rebaptisms, I thought it was only for people who like left the church and came back. So even the concept of rebaptisms, I didn't realize that like anyone could do it. So that was an interesting thing for me to find out. But
I like to think of it as like kind of like a lesson for me at that point, because what that taught me was that, oh, not every experience that I have with God is going to be like that. It's going to be that moment. And then later on in life, it kind of confirmed my theory that like I'm not going to be sitting there. I'm not going to be feeling this like amazing spiritual power or whatever, like this amazing spiritual high. And for me, like I learned that basically at that exact moment when I didn't feel anything, I was just like, oh yeah, that's probably not going to happen. That's probably not
That's a
going to
good
be.
lesson. That's a good lesson to learn at such a young
Yeah,
age.
I'm glad. I'm happy that I learned that lesson, but it's all like it's the same time where I'm just like, it kind of sucks that it was portrayed to me that way. Like
Yeah.
that was an active effort, and I think it had to do mostly for the fact that I was young, and like specifically my church like doesn't really treat the youth the way they should be. Like they kind of just treat them like a bunch of mindless idiots. So
Oh,
yeah,
that happens.
that was like
Oh, that happens.
yeah. So like that,
Not as like a
huh?
that is not that it's okay, but
Yeah.
sorry, Daniel.
No, but yeah, that was like kind of the impression that I got later on. Is like, oh, I'm a child. They're going to treat me like one. That makes sense. Like I'm making an adult decision as a child. So like I kind of I understood why they would say that to me, but like
I got a plan.
Huh?
I got a plan when I got baptized. I'm like, I'm gonna.
You're like, I got
I'm
details.
9.
I mean, like for me, like I it was like something that I thought about, and it was confirmed later on, especially like going to like youth camps for like a lot of my life, Bible camps, like going a lot to like these like places that I kind of realized there was a trend in each place I went to, and it was that spiritual high aspect where they try to manipulate you into feeling those things. And like for me, like what Danilo was saying before, like I think for some people it is like a good experience. Like especially like something that like maybe like a revival, like something that people like probably like they need spiritually, or like they feel like they need it spiritually. How do you guys feel about the people who don't know that they might need it? Like, do you think that it should still be like something that they should go through, or should they or should you have to always consent to always having that spiritual high? Because I know there's a lot of people, especially like in like our generation, that don't take too kindly to stuff like that anymore. They see it and they're like, nope, I'm out of here. I don't want to deal with this, even though they might need it spiritually.
Can you repeat the question one more time? Sorry.
Do you think that spiritual high aspect, that revival thing, should be happening even though a person doesn't realize that they need it?
I don't understand your question. Like, they can always leave.
I think I get it.
Like,
I think it's the idea of like someone being kind of like I think it's like the idea of having a rebellious nature, and it's just like, oh, I don't need this. I don't need to be doing any of this. But like realistically, you can see looking at them like, yo, I think you could benefit from this. But like they don't want to accept the fact that this is something they might need. So I think it's like because
how do you tell someone how do you tell someone they need it?
Yeah, like how would you like, because a lot of people are very against that, like I mean we are obviously like with our purpose of altar calls, we're just like, this is cringe, this is like most of the time, but like there are some cases that some people need it. So like how do we find those people, right? Like how do we figure out that person needs that altar call?
I mean, you can't. So like what are you asking if like pastors should stop or should just keep doing it for those specific people?
Should they keep doing it for those specific people?
I mean, yeah, I definitely feel like altar calls should still exist. I think we've all felt manipulated by them and annoyed by them, and we probably will continue to do so. But I mean, I think they should still exist. Maybe not be used so much. But
I think the frequency of it is the problem. Again, having that random guy who's just traveling, doing it, I feel like they should only be used for evangelical like moments. Like,
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, but I don't know how. Like, I guess I was thinking about it when you guys don't have to answer. But is everyone here baptized, or have some people like decided not to wait, or to wait or something?
I'm baptized.
So we're all baptized. Were we all baptized before the age of 15?
Yeah, if I was 14.
14.
I think I was baptized at 16 then.
I was
Um,
baptized at 18.
Oh, all right. Wait, when were you baptized? I don't remember you getting baptized.
I mentioned it. I got baptized to go on a trip. So the summer I went to France, I got baptized literally the week before I left.
I remember that.
Wait, you got
Yeah.
baptized to go on the trip?
And this is where it was. Yeah, this is.
So was this a
This
rule that your parents gave you, or was this a rule that the
literally
school
it was no, it was an ultimatum my parents gave me. Literally,
goodness.
once I was like right about to leave, they were like, "You should get baptized before you leave." I'm like, "Well, like I don't see the need to do that." Like, no, you need to get baptized. You're not gonna.
Do
I'm not
they
gonna let you go unless you
see-
get baptized.
do they see baptized as equivalent with being saved? Like, were they like, if something happens to you on this trip, you need to be saved?
I can tell you this right now. I have no idea because even the way my dad is now, it's like the nuance in him is so crazy that I don't think he would be doing that today.
Interesting.
I think the man from 2018 to the man
He's
I
evolving.
know now that's a different person. So I'm sitting, I'm like, I don't know where this came from, but out of nowhere, they're like, you need to get baptized. So I just kind of like sat there at 18 going like, I'm just gonna go for the motions so I can get in the water, so I can get out because I got excited for this
We're
trip.
going to France.
Sorry,
No, legit, it was just like,
you mentioned that earlier, but I didn't understand what you were saying.
no,
You got baptized to go on a
so I
trip?
could-
That's
That's
so
just it. I'm probably gonna
bizarre.
have to get rebaptized because it was just like I literally did it just so I can get what I wanted. It was It's just so messed up.
Oh no.
Dude,
So oof, my guy.
it's really
That's a lot. I've never heard
my
of
brother got baptized the same night. We got baptized the same night. And I was
That's
only getting
wild.
baptized because I need to leave, and he got baptized because I was getting baptized.
Also,
Me,
real quick.
me and,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, me and Delano got baptized at the same time too.
Oh.
Mhm.
It
I
was
kind of feel like I want to get rebaptized.
Why?
I feel like I wasn't thinking about it enough when I went through it. Not that I don't think it was a mistake or anything, that when I had it done, I just feel like, well, maybe I don't need to be rebaptized, but I've come to a new point in my spiritual walk, my Christian walk, that it's like it's different than it was then. So
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I think being baptized or being rebaptized is a very personal decision. So I definitely don't want to say you should or you shouldn't. But for me
Mhm.
personally, like I was baptized around like 7 or 8, so really young. And I've definitely come to many new points since then in my spiritual walk. And like I'm always going to be like learning new things and feeling closer to God than I did previous years. And I don't know if like I definitely didn't understand a lot of things about being a Christian when I was that young, just because I was that young. But like in my view, that was me, like we said earlier, like getting baptized is like kind of a declaration to people that like you want to follow God, you want to commit your life to like yourself to God, your life to God. And I feel like I did that, and even though I understand a lot more now and I'm like more mature as a Christian, like that commitment has been my commitment, you know, as I've grown up. So I personally don't feel the need to get rebaptized. I
That's
feel like
fair.
a lot of like definitely at like on spiritual highs or at summer camp or in altar calls and stuff, people start feeling guilty and they just feel like, oh man, I've messed up so much, I need to get rebaptized because I've just ruined my previous baptism. But you don't like ruin
true.
it. I mean, if again, like it's a very personal decision, and there can be so many reasons why someone would want to get rebaptized. So I can respect that, but that's just how I see it.
Yeah.
yeah, I
I
think
agree.
yeah, I kind of align with that.
But I also feel like there's people who like didn't come at it with like full heartedness in the first place. Like Kirby, like he was just kind of trying to like do it in order to get something.
Yeah.
Like other people who like their parents just signed them up for the class and they're like, I guess this is the next step. So I understand it sort of like for that reason. Because it's like even if you're young and you did it full heartedness, like you did it full heartedness, like But if you didn't do it full heartedness, I feel like it could leave like a guilt. But I feel like that's the same thing when people leave the church and then come back. It's like their relationship with God is completely different because they probably left the church already thinking like the whole time they were getting baptized or whatever, like, I don't really want to do this. I don't really believe in this, but they're just going through the motions. And so when they come back into the church, they're like, okay, now I'm actually in this.
I mean, like I'm in like a very similar situation as Darcy. Like I was like baptized really young. I mean, I definitely went at it like full heartedness and like kept a lot of like the things I learned from that. So that's why personally I don't feel like I need to get rebaptized. Like yeah, it was a 9-year-old Daniel. Like that is a very different Daniel. Like that is an entirely different person. So like parts of me, like like I think we retain a little bit parts of our youth, like as we go like get older, but like that part of me that was like that made that commitment, I don't think has changed in any way. So I feel like I don't need to get baptized, but like I can like completely understand why any person would want to be rebaptized for any reason entirely, because like not only is it a very personal statement, like besides the public statement of like the baptism and the ceremony, whatever, like it is a very personal statement that you're saying to yourself that like I am committed to this, like I'm baptizing myself in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So like that's a very big commitment to make. And when you have that mindset, like when you come at it at that way, you start focusing on different details in your like the aspect that I don't like is the guilt tripping. Like whoever has that mentality, like if you feel like that's something that's going to be fixed by getting rebaptized, dude, go for it. Like just come into the mindset that you are making this decision because of XYZ. Like you are making this decision because you want to, on whatever grounds you are, for no other reason. So that's the main emphasis that like I feel like anyone should take away when talking about their baptism. They like, I am doing this because I want to give my life to Christ, not because my parents told me, not because like my church family told me, not because I want to go to a trip or anything like that. Like it's because I want to. So sorry, Kirby. I know we're like beating you down on that one, but like I mean, it's a proper example of why you would want to be rebaptized. So like, hey, and if you want if you want to stick with that baptism, that's completely up to you. So
yeah,
as long as people aren't getting baptized to be saved, like as long as that is very clear that it is not tied together, then like, yeah.
That's a good point.
I also think it's a problem that our church doesn't let people in our church unless they're baptized.
That one's wild. That one throws the wrench at me, and every time he's like, "How are you supposed to help them if they're the whole point is to get them there, not to kick them out the door before they even get there." I'm just like, you're just talking about logistics at this point.
All right, hang on. Can we clarify by let people in our church? Like, are you meaning as become a member or
become a member?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I know people who were guilted at a young age to get baptized because so that they can get a discount in school.
Oh wow.
So that's the only way you can become a member if you're baptized. And their parents didn't want to get baptized, so they're like,
dang,
you have to get baptized.
How do you not, like, as a church administrator, how do you sit there and think, oh, there's gonna be no other, this is gonna bring people to Christ? That one throws a wrench at any thinking that I have. Don't know how to handle that.
So any like final thoughts that you just were kind of holding in, that you just want to say real quick, and then afterwards we'll move into application.
Okay. I thought Kayla was going to go. That's why I was like, okay. Final thoughts. I think that with this conversation, I'm able to notice how not only is just altar calls as a form of evangelism, and just if we're looking at evangelism as realistically, we found out that evangelism is gaslighting. Evangelism also is just the idea of getting numbers into any certain group.
Not evangelism, altar calls.
Okay, well, I would say my parents telling me to get baptized before leaving for a trip was a form of altar calls and was gaslighting.
Oh, shoot, he's got a point though.
Oh my God.
Solid point, dude. Solid.
So that's my
point.
personal application of what this conversation was and my final thought. But also, do it when you feel like it's right, when you want to build a relationship with Jesus Christ, because that's what matters. It doesn't matter what group you're part of, what you're doing, is that you've built a relationship. And a relationship is going to get you through the door and get you wanting to be as close as possible with Jesus Christ. There we go.
Love it. That was very well said.
That was
Lucy,
kind of an application.
do you have anything to say? Caitlin, do you have anything to say? You haven't said much.
I was just gonna say, the only thing, is what Daniel was talking about with the like revival stuff and if it's important or not. I think it's important, but I think also it's very situational and it needs, like, number one, the pastor needs to read the room. Like, does he like feel it out? Like, is it gonna help people, and like don't make it into a guilt trip. And I feel like the manipulative aspect of it needs to be taken out, because and like it needs to be approached from a very humble place, because it's not the pastor that's like, because like you guys were talking about, sometimes it feels like the pastor is just like trying to get you in the door, or like write a name on a list, or like put a number down for souls that they've saved, and that's doesn't really help anybody, and that just feels wrong. So I feel like it when you do altar calls, it needs to come from a place of like, I'm not the one saving people, I'm like, God is saving them, and like you're inviting them to a relationship with God, but that has nothing to do with you.
Caitlin, if I could record, actually we are recording this, but if I could have that as a soundbite and send it to almost every pastor, I would right now, because oh my God, I completely forgot to touch on this aspect, so I'm gonna go a little bit on this as my final thought. I hate it when it becomes an ego thing for pastors. They inflate their ego with it, and I think that's why sometimes they make it last so long. So you guys don't understand that I'm not a terrible person. That's kind of why I hope nobody shows up when it becomes, because you can obviously see on stage when it's an ego thing for them, and they're like, God, I just really hope that at least one person shows up, even though it's been like 20 minutes and no one's shown up. Like, I hope at least one person, God, please, for me. I'm like,
Yeah,
bro, really?
me, oh.
Like, really, bro, for you? Oh, you threw yourself down on the bus. You already ruined yourself by saying that. So, yeah, I'm like, definitely the humble aspect is so important that I think that like it's something that we like a little bit glanced over in that, because like that you're calling people to God. Like, you got to be humble about it. Like, it's not you doing it, it's God that's doing it. It's the Holy Spirit that's doing it. So that's a very important thing to add on to that. Thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah. I think for me, what Caitlin said, like, is like kind of feeds into my final thoughts is reading the room. Like, say that in big bold letters. Because if you're doing an altar call with your regular members during an evangelistic meeting and you're looking at everyone in the room and they're all baptized, but you're still doing an altar call, like, that is so not called for. Like, no one asked for that. Like, why are you doing that? You're literally doing that just to goat your members in order for you to feel good, and so you can have a day of baptism, like, and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna have 5 baptisms today, we're so glad. It's our church members too. Literally, it's our church members because they're already baptized. Like, like, what are you trying to do? So, yeah, I don't like that at all. Read the room for sure. And definitely I feel like they need to have baptismal like meetings for sure that are like official. But yeah, definitely read the room when you're doing a baptism. Any other final thoughts?
I mean, I'm just here for the shorter altar calls. That's my final thought.
Yeah.
I'll give you 60 seconds, bro. That's all you got.
focus on people over numbers. I think that's been said many times here before. I'm just gonna say it again.
Yeah.
People over numbers.
It's a dangerous game to play when you turn people into number or profit.
Yeah, it's relationships. It needs to be relationships.
That's purely
Thankfully,
what it is.
also shouting out to our church because we've been saying all the bad things. Thankfully, our church does not have like the amount of people in the church depicts like how much the pastor makes, you know, all the money
True.
goes back to the
that's
church
good.
and then it gets refed out so that way not one church is like overpowered.
Supporting their pastor.
Yeah, supporting their pastor and like his numbers actually does equal his paycheck. So at least that's a good thing.
Yeah, that is
Anyway.
good. Yeah, it is.
Sounds like a common sense thing, but yeah.
Yeah, but most churches do not run that way. So
Common sense is not common, Daniel. We've talked about this.
You're right. You're right. My bad. My bad.
Okay, Bradley, Delano, any other final thoughts?
Nah, I think you guys wrapped it up pretty well for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's pretty wrapped up. I really think a focus should be relationship based, but we've already kind of covered that.
Yeah, but it's good to reiterate that at the end, relationship-based content. All right, so thanks for listening to the Potluck, the podcast. I'm Danila.
I'm Kirby.
I'm Darcy.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Briley.
I completely forgot we were doing this. I'm Daniel.
I'm Delano.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Goodbye.